Hi everyone, this is Paris Debono of the Fortune Teller Shop. And I have been a professional fortune teller since 1990. I do astrology, palmistry, tarot, Lenormand, and all sorts of divination and fortune telling. I'm also a tarot card designer and teacher as well. And through the years I've had students of mine who have actually worked as professional readers in my shops. So because these people, my students, were working for me, I had to make sure they knew how to read cards properly and well. Now I also manage and admin the Tarot Facebook group. And I noticed a lot of the new beginners, the tarot beginners, make 5 main mistakes. And these are the 5 that I notice all the time. The first one is doing spreads that are too big. So here's an example of a Celtic cross. It took me several years to master the Celtic cross. I'm not experienced, so I did this reading just now. I have no idea if I've interpreted it correctly, but I'd like to get some second opinions. So this is just too complex for a beginner, and also this post does not have a context for the reading as well. So I asked, ask a question or have an area of your life that you are asking about, career, love, etc., and do a simple spread. Now the 5 card spread that I've got here is simple, but it's direct and clear, whereas the Celtic cross is way too complex for a beginner. So if you're a beginner, just stick to the 5 card spread until you've mastered that. I know it's not as glamorous as a Celtic cross, but it will be clearer for you. So I noticed this post from Mary. If you are a tarot beginner, why are you already reading the cards reversed? I asked her. She said, they just kind of went that way. I don't know. I'm not sure what you were asking. How do I make them not reversed? And I said, so if you are learning to drive a car and it kind of drives off the road, you let it? So I said, you make them not reversed by using your hands to turn them upright until you learn the upright meaning. Then she said, oh, okay, that is different than what one individual told me to do. The first I've heard, good to know. Then I said, that's okay, that's what this group is for, learning. You are doing well, keep it up. And then she said, I'm going to try to do a basic reading with all the cards not reversed this time, etc. So that's really good. That's a student there that wants to learn. Excellent work. You'll have plenty of time to do Celtic crosses with reverse cards later on. Here's another example of a student that's kind of a little bit lost. I need help with these, please. But we don't have a context. We have a Celtic cross, we have reversals, but we don't know what it's about, who it's for, what the question is. So the second issue that beginners have is no context. It's just a bunch of cards, but there's no context as to why they are there. Here's another example. Anyone could please interpret this. So there's too many cards, there's reverse cards. We don't know what the question is, what the context is. Is it about someone's love life? Is it about their career? Is it about the royal family? We don't know. The third mistake that I think beginners get stuck in is when they start to get very unusual and creative and artistic cards, but these cards don't have the fundamentals in them. So as you can see with this one, there's so much confusion. What does the awakening card mean? Well, we don't know because that's not in the original Rider-Waite. So there's lots of confusion because the cards are too arty. I am a card collector. I love tarot cards. I have hundreds of decks, but I learned with the basic ones first. I learned the building blocks, and then once I learned, then I could branch out and get all different types of creative, artistic cards. Here's some examples of some beautiful, beautiful art, but they're too hard to read. There's no fundamental, basic foundation in these cards. They're all very artistic and creative, but they're too abstract for a beginner. Now, once you get more experience, sure, go out and buy any card deck you want and play with any card deck you like, but at the beginning, it's really important to get something that has the basics. I always say to my students, it's like the alphabet. You have to learn the basics in order to then write words and then write a story. Also, if you notice, a lot of the beginners are using these very strange spreads. And also they put them in the group, but they don't tell us what the positions of the spreads are. So there's lots of abstract spreads, abstract art, abstract cards, abstract no context, abstract questions. That's why there's also a lot of confusion. By the way, I studied art at university, so I have nothing against artistic tarot cards at all. In fact, I love them. But yeah, as a beginner, you want to steer clear of the artistic ones at first. Now, I know that what I'm saying will activate many, many people online, on YouTube, on Facebook, because how dare I impose my beliefs on their artistic expression? I've had this happen over and over again. Usually when I teach a class and the student is in my class, they usually understand what I'm saying and they work with what I'm saying, and then they can actually read the cards quite quickly. Whereas online, everyone wants to do it their own way. They don't accept me as their teacher, which is fair enough. But when you do one of my classes, you're paying me to teach you and you're accepting me as your teacher, and possibly even getting a foot into the fortune-telling tarot reading industry. But I do notice online people just get offended. They think that that's not the way that you should do it. You should follow your own instincts. And I always say this to people. If you have a child that's 3 or 4 years old and they get a fork and they plug it into the power socket, they could get electrocuted. But that child is also following its artistic, creative impulses. So when you follow your impulses and you're starting out, that's probably not the best way to start. Another way of saying it is, if you're driving a car and you're a beginner, it's much better to have a professional, experienced car driving instructor with you, teaching you how to drive a car, rather than just doing it because you are drawn to, turning the wheel this way or that way. I suppose what I'm doing is describing the fool versus the magician. The magician is someone who's in control of all the elements and can create magic, whereas the fool is sort of enjoying the journey and just going with their impulses. There's nothing wrong with either one, but I'm just saying, if you want to be masterful at reading cards and read them for public, possibly as a business or a career, like I have done, I would listen to someone who's already done it. I myself had wonderful teachers. I had 3 main teachers when I first started. I had 2 tarot teachers, and then I had a palmistry teacher as well as an astrology teacher. So at first I had to be molded and shaped by these professionals, and that's how I became a professional. I also designed my own tarot cards for my students, and these are some examples of some of the beginners cards that I've created. Okay, so this was the 5 mistakes that beginners make video. I'm going to leave it there so it doesn't get too long. I hope you got something out of it, and good luck on your learning and your journey with the tarot. This is Paris Debono of the Fortune Teller Shop.